and welcome to another episode of NBL Now, brought to you by Code Sports. Well, NBL action is back, and tonight it's in the form of the Ignite Cup. Kelsey Browne joining you this morning with a very special guest, three-time NBL champion, and a man who went back to back to back. It's Brisbane Bullets star Casey Prather. Case, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad I can help.
We have so much to discuss for the upcoming round, but before we do, I need to give a little bit of a recap on Ignite Cup. We know that teams are playing for the $400,000. Their two top teams are going to be playing off of that in February in the Gold Coast. Let's have a look at the ladder, though, at the moment. So currently, New Zealand are on 13, Perth are on 13, Brisbane and the Hawks are on 8, and Tassie and MU sitting on 7. I'm excited to ask you, great to see Brisbane, New Zealand and Illawarra all in the hunt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I guess anytime you put some money on the line, teams start to really showcase who they really want to be. You look at a team like New Zealand who, for the most part of the league or the standings has been at the bottom of the league. But now that you put a little money on it, things change a little bit quickly. So, yeah.
Do you start to pay attention to the quarters? We know that you get a point for every single quarter that you win. When you're going into the games, do you start to pay attention to that a little bit more?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every possession matters at that point. You're playing for so much money and so much is at stake that game. So, you look at teams who are down by 30 going into the fourth quarter and, their starters are still playing the game because not only are they competitive, but, they want that piece of that money right there. So, like I said, every quarter counts.
Let me ask you, do you think you still get your share of the 400K?
I sure hope so. I've definitely been looking at that and talking to some of the guys, and I'm just like, hey, I did play my fair share, especially in Perth. So I'll be expecting a little bit of that money for sure.
Absolutely. You've been a massive part of the Brisbane Bullets. It is a wide open race in the Ignite Cup, though, and we've seen sort of teams really come to play. Who do you think it suits the most? Do you think that the two teams that might be there? I know you're going to say the Brisbane Bullets.
Oh, absolutely going to say the Brisbane Bullets. But unbiasedly speaking, you can never count out a team like Melbourne. Adelaide hasn't really had too many Ignite Cup games or anything like that. So I think this may be their first one coming up. So, but New Zealand right now, they're looking impressive. Every time, like I said, that money is on the line. Those guys come out hungry and they look like a whole totally different team. So I wouldn't be shocked if New Zealand is in that finals right there.
Well, if it's New Zealand and Brisbane, I'll make sure I tell you that you are right. Let's take a look at the game tonight, though. We've got New Zealand Breakers up against the Sydney Kings. It's an interesting sort of competitiveness between these two. Sydney going over there to really assert themselves. New Zealand trying to get some more wins on the board to hopefully try and make that play in. How do you look at these two teams? What do you see from both of them when you come up against them?
Well, honestly, the first thing that kind of stands out is a little bit of desperation. Both teams are really trying to fight to find their foot in the league. New Zealand started off pretty slow, but are starting to turn things around. And I don't think we've seen the best of Sydney yet. They played a couple good games and had a couple good wins, especially when they came over to Brisbane. But I think they're a team that's pretty exciting to watch, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up top 3 at the finish of the league. So, you got two dynamic guards who are going to be going at it and two premier 4-man. So it's going to be an exciting game and definitely going to be more stakes up the graph for this money. So I'm excited to watch that.
We absolutely love having you on this show because you segue us into the next question. I want to ask about PJC and Kendrick. How do you see that matchup? Two very dynamic guards, as you've said, maybe two of the best in the competition outside Bryce. How do you see that matchup playing out?
Oh, like you said, two of the best of the competition. So I think they know that going into the game. If I'm a premier point guard in the league and I'm trying to play against, Bryce Cotton and the PJCs on a night in, night out basis, then every time I get a matchup like this, I'm gritting my teeth and I'm ready to come out and just start firing on all cylinders. So it's going to be an interesting one because they both provide different things for their team. You got a guy like Kendrick who was just a phenomenal scorer. PJC too to his own right, but anytime PJC can get into the lane to find his other teammates as well and get everybody else involved, man, he's just so much more dangerous and so much valuable to that team when he can do so. So, it's gonna be two totally different scout reports, but at the same time, two snakes of the team going right at it. So whoever can cut the head off first, I guess, won that.
Love that. How have you seen KD's transition from Adelaide to Sydney? Do you think he's been as efficient, as effective in his game, or do you think he sort of struggled to find his feet this year? How have you seen his introduction into the Kings?
Well, what he's third lead in scoring right now, so I don't think that he's like struggling by any means at all. But I definitely think there was a learning curve for him to get over to Sydney. You know, playing for a new coach who probably expects a little bit things a little bit differently and things like that. So then you have teammates who like Delhi and Xavier, you trying to get involved and make sure that they stay happy. So yeah, it's always going to be a new transitional period whenever you go to a new team, especially a team who has like so much pedigree and so much standing in the league. He obviously wants to do well, be well, and play well. So it's going to take a while, but I still think the best for Kendrick is still to come later on in his back end of the season.
I want to ask you about that four-man matchup. It's obviously an area that you know very well. You would have matched up against these two players. How do you see that one? Where's Xavier Cook sitting for you? And how do you find these two as a matchup for you?
I think Xavier Cooks is the key to that Sydney team. You know, if he is involved and he's confidently playing confident and he doing all the things that Xavier Cooks is doing, that Sydney team is very dangerous. So I think it's going to be very important for New Zealand just to kind of limit him a little bit, keep him off the boards, and yeah, just try to crowd the paint as best as possible because when he get a head going down steam, it's kind of hard to stop him, especially with the his vision being able to kick out and find those open guys. So that's one area that New Zealand's going to have to really key in on. But Sam Meninga has been playing well. He had a great showing for the Tall Blacks, so I'm sure he's going to come out confident and firing again. He gave us like 23 in the first half, so yeah, that's someone you definitely want to get to early and kind of stop that, so because he can really fill it up.
I want to ask you about that, though. You've been a young buck. I'm not going to call you old because I think you've got plenty of years left to go in you, and I know that I've heard you say that. But you've been a young player. Sam Menanga is around 23 years of age. He's really coming into his own. He's played at Cairns. He's now moved over to New Zealand. He's back in his home area. How do you sort of see his transition from a 23-year-old maybe playing at Cairns, and you've been around for it, and how does he sort of move into that really dominant, mature player that he's slowly becoming?
Yeah, I think the understanding of it is the main thing that comes with getting a little bit more mature in your game and your age. You know, the game starts slowing down once you become older. You know, you kind of done this, been there for a while, so everything for him is starting to like slow down and start being able to play at his own pace a little bit more. So I think for him, just understanding that, you know, just he can get to his spot whenever he wants to. He can pretty much demand the ball whenever he wants to. So it's all about just trying to figure out what's the best position for him to be in at the right times, and then just being able to capitalize on that.
I want to ask you just before we move on to the Thursday night games and the big round that we've got coming up, how is your injury feeling? How are you going? I saw you during the week. You're on crutches, but you seem in really good spirits. How are you feeling within yourself?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. You know, to be considering, you know, it definitely was a blow. Was having a pretty good year. Was expecting us to be able to turn this thing around and get to finals and things like that. But you know, I'm a soldier. I like the battle. It's all a part of the journey for me. You know, you don't go into basketball expecting this, but you don't, you know, discredit anything happening like this as well. So part of the game. I'm ready to get this thing behind me and get back to NBL and get back to me.
And what role do you play now for the Bullets? Are you in the sessions? Are you sort of taking a little bit of time away to rehab? Or I feel like you're the person who you still really believe in the team. You still want to be around it. I think you'd be an excellent teammate. What role do you play for them now?
All right, now I'm playing a couple roles, right? I'm gonna be the fourth assistant coach. I'll be the cheerleader as well. And I'll be the mad uncle who kind of gets on the people every now and then. So yeah, I'm just gonna just go in there and just, you know, try to be, you know, as much as leading as I can, try to give those guys as much knowledge as I can based on my experiences. And if I see something, I'm gonna call it out. If not, you know, I'm gonna be cheering those guys on because I believe in them.
And lastly, you talk about your cheerleader, or you being a cheerleader. I want to ask about your cheerleader, Ariana. Is she being a good bedside nurse? Is she having to take the load, or is it sort of turning to her being the focus at the moment because she's obviously got a career of her own.
Yeah, no, she's good at, taking on the load. She cooks for me all the time. I try to do what I can, especially with Deuce. But, yeah, I think she's doing a great job just putting everything on her back right now and just soldiering on. But, yeah, she made me breakfast this morning, so I can't complain about that. She took Deuce out for a nice little yoga session, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so I didn't even have yoga when I was Deuce's age, but hey, yeah, so it's been good. It's been good.
What a star. What can't she do? Let's talk about Thursday night basketball though. We've got a pretty big game. We saw these two teams match up just before we went into the fever break. It ended up fizzling out a little bit in the fourth quarter when Perth's scoring dried up, but it's Perth versus Melbourne United at RAC Arena. How do you see this matchup? Is it as hyped up as we think it is?
Oh yeah. I mean, you got two teams who, are fighting for their respect. You have a team like Melbourne United who's kind of always been at that, that elite level. Perth kind of fell off, but if you look at Perth over the last 10, 12, 15, 20 years, their dynasty has been strong enough for you to say that they're always a contender. And I think this game right here is going to be no different. It's going to be two elite core groups in the league going at it, and I think it's going to be exciting to watch.
How do you think Perth find a way to get over the top of United? And are United really head and shoulders above everyone else? Is it actually really difficult to beat United? Or what would you say are the key areas that Perth need to really get on top of United?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that they were key above everyone else. I think they have a system that they run very well. And if you go in with the game plan of trying to just stop that system alone, you will lose. So I think the biggest key in playing United is just match the physicality, get them out of transition, make them play half court sets, and just be very solid offensively. Stay strong to your principles, right? It's not a team where you can go out there and turn the ball over or go out there and jack up quick shots because then they just punish you on the transitional side of it. So match the physicality, yeah, make them play half court sets, and you give yourself a chance.
We've got a massive Sunday coming up as well. I'm not on any game, so I'm just going to be sitting gluing myself to the TV. We've got the Throwdown in the early game. We've got United up against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. And then we go over to Perth, and it's the big one that I think everyone has marked on their calendar. It's Perth taking on the Adelaide 36ers, and it's the first time that Bryce is going to be back at RAC Arena. I've got goosebumps talking about it. I love basketball. Give your insights into the Throwdown. It's one of those ones that Phoenix just cannot manage to assert dominance over. Is there something for you that stands out for the Phoenix that just says they can't get it done either mentally or with the caliber of players that they've got?
Like I said, I think it's a mental thing between Phoenix right now because they obviously have the talent, they have the depth. They match up with United pretty well. I think it's just more so about putting four quarters together. You'll see them guys. You see those guys go out there and play a great 2 quarters of great basketball and things like that. But again, I guess United, you have to be so solid. Every single possession matters against them. You have to be fourth quarter locked in, sticking to the game plan. For Josh King, he has to be able to adjust on the fly. You can't go into Melbourne United thinking that just your one game plan is going to work. You got to have plan A, plan B, and plan C, and being able to switch on with the quickness is, I think, important. But putting together 4 good quarters of basketball, and they could definitely take them down.
You come up against their defense this year. How have you found it? They're picking up full court. Their defense has gone to another level. Is it hard to come up against?
It's so annoying. They just end you every single possession. Like they pick your full court. If you go to the bathroom, they probably right there trying to defend you as well. It's just like, relax a little bit. But, Josh King got those guys up and about. They're playing like straight into his system, right into his style. So it's impressive to watch. Everybody wants to be on a team like that who's playing hard for each other, playing good defense and wanting to play defense and play like that for each other. So it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that Throwdown. Let's talk about the big game, though. Bryce going back to RAC Arena. How do you think he's feeling going into this one? I know Bryce is very calm. He probably isn't playing it up too much. It's just another game for him. But this can't be just another game. We know what went down in the off season. There was a fair bit of drama surrounding it. If you were Bryce, how are you going into that stadium?
Oh, we all know how Bryce is feeling. He said it himself. He said when he goes back, he's burning that thing down. So I don't think it's any other game that's as important this year, this season alone. So I'm excited because if I know Bryce pretty well, and I know that he just doesn't say anything that he doesn't mean. So I know he's going in with a chip on his shoulder. I know he's going in ready, like you said, to burn that thing down. My only thing for Bryce is I hope he doesn't let the game get too big. You know, I don't want him to think that, all right, it's me versus Perth. It's still Adelaide versus Perth. And Perth, you have a chip on your shoulder, so you can go prove that. But yeah, don't get too carried away with it. And I think he's a pro. He understands that. And at the same time, I think he's going in with that dog mentality of, yeah, I'm getting mine.
How do you think Perth are meeting him coming in? Is there something that looks different for John Rillie and the team? Do you think they're addressing it as well? Is it focus on Bryce? How do you think this sort of played out? They've met earlier in the year. Perth got the chocolates in Adelaide. It's a different game now. I think Adelaide look a little bit different since that game. They probably learned a fair bit. How do you think Perth are meeting Bryce?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I will hope they meet him with respect. So as soon as they get in, I will have, Bryce video playing on the Jumbotron and just all the fans just showing love and recognition. Other than that, I think everybody on that team understands the situation with Bryce. They've been there with him pretty much the whole roster except some of the new guys who just got in. But they all understand how much this means to Bryce right now, so they have to have a focus of just going in and stopping Bryce. Let the secondary X's and O's come after that, but the number one priority right now is how do we stop Bryce? How do we get the ball out of Bryce's hands? How do we, if he goes on a little mini run by himself, how do we stop that instantly? Because he's a guy who can win you games by himself. So I think the team knows that. I think coach knows that. I think the fans knows that, and the owners and everybody else knows that as well. So it's got to be a collective group.
I can't wait to see the runs that either team goes on, see how both of those play out on Sunday. Casey, it's been absolutely amazing to sit down with you. Love talking to you, love your insights, love to hear you doing well in your rehab. And I think I can speak on behalf of the whole NBL. Just your positivity, your mindset is really inspiring. We cannot wait to see you back. I know you've got 7 to 10 more years left in
There
you.
you go. There we go.
So much for joining our meeting today. For those of you at home, you can jump onto codesports.com.au. Check out everything you need to know about the NBL. There'll be Ignite Cup insights in there, exclusive access, everything that you need. This has been another NBL Now. We can't wait for the round ahead. Enjoy the hoops.